we would like the minister and maybe both James and Yvonne to maybe go from table to table, have those conversations.
We've come a long way and done a lot of good things. And yesterday we had Melanie here, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we had a great meeting with Melanie, Yvonne and I, and a number of people from the community as well.
We now look at, Canada's one of the leading countries in supporting Ukraine. And I, like I said yesterday when Melanie was here, I said, it won't be enough. James said something similar, it won't be enough until Ukraine wins.
Exactly.
I just want all of you to know, that, when the further invasion began in 2022, even before that, it wasn't obvious how the world was going to respond. And people like Seamus and like James, and there were others, but were really, really strong advocates who put themselves forward, who advocated for us to do everything possible to support Ukraine.
And maybe some of that resonated very quickly when this further invasion began. Something stirred in a lot of us, I think. And some of us instinctively knew what was at stake. I think I was one of them. I think I knew what was at stake. And I thought it was very important that we make our support known very early and very clearly.
Is it the romanticized version of Ukraine in their minds that they had prior to the war? Because everything has changed.
Yeah.
Your village may not be devastated, your city might not be devastated, it might be standing, but it still has changed.
It's like so many of these families are they're in disparate parts of the GTA, and God, it must be, all too easy to fall into isolation, just feeling that you're terribly alone.
And we have seen a great number who end up in North York, Thornhill, where there's a large Russian population, and you start to see people getting integrated into their communities, and then all of a sudden they're starting to say, well, wait a minute, what's going on with this war, and why shouldn't we just talk about peace? And it's a completely different narrative.
Our population is aging, even within our own community. I've raised this at our executive level too, about starting to develop not only programs for young people, but also programs for seniors, because the loneliness and some of them have experienced it during COVID. They were isolated, they were very social people, and it was devastating to them.
Yeah. So
now that COVID's over, they're left on their own, and we need to re-engage some of our seniors as well and look after them. But it's a serious problem,
It is.
and I don't know what can be done and how fast something can be done. But I'm not getting any younger, and that I'm going to need some care at some point in time in my life as well. And I'm very concerned.
We still got a lot of work to do. I think we made a smart move a long time ago when we decided that the OAS and the GIS would be indexed for inflation. But even then, the problem is food prices are still high, rent is still high, and they don't go down. So we're hitting it on a couple of fronts. One other front I would mention too is one of the lessons we learned through COVID was that people kind of got used to watching the news, once a week or whatever. You'd come out with new numbers on how each province and territory was doing. You wouldn't believe, when we talk about healthcare and seniors care and all of this is provincial jurisdiction, that isn't like us just passing the buck. That's the cold hard reality of the Constitution. And the provinces guard that. So one thing that we learned during COVID was that it was very helpful to see how they were doing. Even getting data from some provinces can be difficult.
One of the things that we have been doing through our War Veterans Association together with our credit union since 2014 is veteran support programs. And largely those were being donations in Canada collected to run programs in Ukraine, or getting them to Poland or somewhere nearby where they can do either rehab or just general support programs. But that's one thing that we think, from a Canada perspective, in the not distant future, is to take a look at, is that something that Canada can lend either through the NATO channels or through the Operation Unifier activities, is to actually do veterans support.
Whatever jobs I've been assigned, whether it was Veterans Affairs or Indigenous Services or Natural Resources, which is dealing with a lot of workers who don't know what's going on with the energy sector. They just know that everything's being transitioned. And now labor and seniors, constantly you're dealing with people who are feel that they're going through change in their lives. some who are handling that a lot better than others, all of whom feel a need for their independence and their autonomy to be acknowledged, for them to be treated with dignity and respect by their government, by their community.